What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another What the Truck. We are here with one of the coolest Dentsides and pretty much one of the coolest Ford guys.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far at all, and I wouldn't even say I'm a Ford guy. Oh, I gotta yell at my dog. Come here, dog! Chili! So this is Robert Redford. So this is my 1979 F250, sold at Ray Carter Alamosa in Southern Colorado. I bought it in Pagosa Springs a little more than a year ago, and the reason it caught my attention was that it had already been fuel injection swapped. This has a 351, a 5.8 that is bone stock out of a 93 F350, and it has the ZF transmission behind it. And while none of that is cool by today's standards, this still is an overdrive transmission with a deep first gear and a fuel injected motor. And so I picked the truck up pretty cheap. I think I paid him $5,000 or something for it. The truck had never been cared about. It was always a farm truck. In fact, the farm I bought it on is a historical farm, massive barn that was relocated from Wolf Creek to this property. So this is truly a Southern Colorado farm truck. Something happened to the 93 F350 along the way when they pulled the motor, and the rednecks did an okay job. I've just gone through and fixed and repaired some things, but the first thing you'll notice is Ford never built a short bed 3/4 ton truck. And so I bought the truck to sell, but ultimately when I got home, I'd fallen in love and I couldn't get rid of it. So I decided to chop it in half. So just before SEMA last year, I chopped the truck in half and threw 37s on it, and then we simply took the dog to the dog prison, and I came home and the truck was bone stock other than being short bedded. And so I left it there and drove to SEMA, came back, and then kept working on the truck. I was getting ready to go to Hammers, and I realized I had a cylinder head crack on it. So it also has a built engine now. So the transfer case been gone through, engine's been gone through, the transmission was in great shape.
For the guys curious, how much did you shorten it?
So everybody thinks they know on these things. I've done several of them. I've got a template for doing them. So we pull 16 inches out, and then if people don't know, all Dentside, every other truck built by International, Ford, Chevrolet, every other year, every other thing, if they get longer here, they get longer here. Dentsides are not that way. From the factory, when they got longer, it was only mid-ship. So we only have to make one cut as opposed to making zigzags and move all this stuff up. Now, I'll be honest, this truck does have a lot of overhang, but it's just the way they were. If I was building one for more hardcore use, I would probably take, if I still wanted to have a factory short bed, but I wanted the wheelbase longer and less overhang, I might go 14 and 2 out of the back or something like that. 16 inches out, and then leaves us with a 6'9" bed. And so if everybody's curious, this is a $200 marketplace camper I bought off of a 95 F150. So if you're curious if this is a legit short bed distance,
looks like it. Yeah.
So the truck, like I said, so it's a...
You love cutting the long beds down. You did it on the green one.
Because long beds are really cheap, and it only takes me about 40 hours to complete the chop, and it takes absolutely nothing other than welding wire and sawzall blade and grinder blades. So the drive shaft, we cut them in the shop, brake lines are all shortened down, exhaust chopped down. So like you can buy a long bed and it can become a short bed for virtually no money. Just throw a little bit of time at it. Dana 60, Dana 44 in the front, air lockers, 513 gears, and chromo axles, and I'm running solid U-joints in the front, no bearings. And so the front bumper's been chopped 3 inches to make it narrower. I've also put a 10,000 pound winch with poly rope behind the factory bumper in the factory bumper location. The recovery points bolt to the end of the frame plus a third bumper mount.
Dude, that is so awesome.
And currently running 17 by 8.
I love these hooks that you made too.
Yeah, so these are the factory frame holes. I added a third mounting location, and so these were just a prototype to figure out if I like them. I've got a new plan for the same bracket. I've been asked a lot. I didn't think it was anything special, but I've been asked about it a whole lot.
I bet those are so bright.
These aren't nearly as bright as the headlights. And so for everyone that thinks, oh, this is 78, Aaron doesn't know what he's talking about, or Aaron swapped it. Did kind of. If you're familiar with the 78, 79, 78, you could get either one, but on low option trucks, you'd get the old round headlight, which my opinion is Dentsides do not need. Square headlights are awful. The only reason they had square headlights is because the bull nose was about to come out and they were trending people into it. The square headlight is ugly on this. If you have one, the square headlight is ugly.
I feel like you're talking to me.
Yeah. The square headlight is ugly. And so what these are KC, these are TJ Jeep headlight replacements. And so what I did is I tried for several weeks to get, I wasn't going to buy them off eBay or anything. And so I looked around, So I used the round buckets out of a early year that would have had the headlight low. I just cut the frame out of it, and then I built the rest of it to move them up there. So these are hybrid, my work and factory bucket chopped up to make the conversion for it. Anyway, they're just Jeep TJ replacement KCs. They smoke the little lights. This is a wonderful product. I'm very happy with that. And then the tuck on the winch is just absolutely primo. Everything
and
works.
You can't even see it from the bottom either.
Like, it works, fits, gets in there well. So I've been really
love
pleased
how
with
you
that.
tighten that up.
You could shove a softball behind the fender on this. So what this is, like, if you take, masking tape, right? And this is the cut for masking tape, that thickness, about 3 inches, about 2 fingers on both sides, and it tucks the bumper up what I think is appropriate from the factory. They hang off miles. The only thing that gets weird about it is you lose that top edge on it, so you'll see a slight decrease here. There are ways to handle this, but ultimately, this is my daily driver. It's built to be in the desert, built to be in the mountains, to go to work, go get steel, go get gas.
I mean, tell us about what we just drove up to get here.
Oh, a super highway. So we're up here on top of Mount Herman, drove up Mount Herman Road. So everything that's in shade is in deep snow or packed snow. And so we just tooled on up here. And so this is Central Colorado Front Range.
And I got the drone, so on the way back down, we'll fly the drone. You guys could see all of this stuff, but
sure.
I'm sure.
And so as far as I know, the appearance on the truck, clearly it's rough, but that is also
It's actually not. I mean,
so we're dealing with what's left of original paint. When we get to the doors, the guy I bought it from, in his infinite wisdom, he and boredom would sit out there with a grinder, and everywhere surface rust, he would buzz them off. And then on the other door, he got the closest red they had at the local Napa or something, and it's dusted in. So the truck is, so this bedside is unaltered, aside from the cut. And then one thing to note about the cuts on, you can see I haven't hit them with a hammer. I welded it through the trim on it and rolled. This is long bed trim cut down. If people don't know, we cut them here. The ends are both the same. This is long bed trim on a short bed truck. And so it's like everything you need to build a short bed out of a long bed exists, already on the truck. For welding wire and some time, you can have a short bed. Anyway, the front bumper, there's no reinforcement other than just the bumper chopped down on the end of the frame rails. Obviously, that'll change. One thing to notice, 37s, this truck, as far as height goes, this truck is 1 inch up in the front, 1 inch down in the back. And these are 37s. I clear lock to lock, bump to bump. And so the all 4 fenders are opened up or swept forward on each edge.
So could you explain to them what you mean by that?
Yeah, so once again, here's spray paint on it. But so and here, still part of the dent. So this section has been cut here. This section has been cut here. From originally on 37s, the fender would be down here like this. You can't even turn the wheel. So this is what we pick a point on the curve, and then we take the tangent off of that, and then we just cut it, bring it up, weld it, and then that one's got clearly the wrong color red spray paint on it, and we move on with our life. And then same thing on the front. Also, the Ford edge has been boxed on it because at full stuff, this tire will just make contact on the front, contact on the top, contact on the outside, contact on the inside. So we use every bit of the stock wheel, the wheel weld that is there. We use all of it.
And I remember last time we made a video, you were telling me that you'd never let your tires poke unless you have to. Yeah, and you still stay by that. And I love that.
100%. I mean, it's like, it's a style that I'm not into, and so I don't do it. I like my trucks tight and clean, and I like everything to fit, but on the back, so this is a 2-inch 120 wall tube bumper built inside of it. Then I took a 61 unibody bumper, flipped it over, notched it, cut the ends out, and so the bumper on here is just for appearances, to make it match the front, to look tight, to look nice, and that's a factory bumper flipped upside down, cut some holes in it.
I love that.
Yeah. And so there's not a whole lot to talk about it.
Simple tire mount.
Yeah, you can open it up if you want. But and so run a 37-inch spare. Obviously the build out back here is not real big, so we've got recovery gear, some tools, axe, jack, 37s, spare gas. So it is what it is back here. It's aluminum.
Have you set it up for sleeping or not yet?
Yeah, well, I don't have to have a $200,000 build out to go camping. And so as it turns out, with a sleeping pad and a ground pad, you can kind of go anywhere you want, including the bed of your truck. And I realize a lot of people have to have every sponsor in the world and $250,000 to go camping, but it's just not me.
Well, you keep your heater with you. Your heater's running around right now, but it's somewhere around here.
I was like, my heater, who knows? She's probably getting in a fight with a deer right now. The truck also runs both tanks. So I shortened the midship tank, which wasn't original to this, but was pulled out of the 93. And so even though I don't have a filler door on this one, I run front and rear tanks on it. And yeah.
How's she look under the hood?
Yeah, I'll be happy to show you.
Ooh, you got the fancy pull.
Yeah.
Haha.
79. So I'll tell you, it's gotten me in trouble. And I don't know when they brought them in, what year they brought them in, but the locking wings and the locking hood. So the locking hood's never given me a problem, but a lot of times I'll leave my wings open in case the dog locks the door. I was in California recently, and the door got locked, and my keys were inside. As it turns out, I had the window cracked, and I can make some things happen at a gas station. So
Resourceful.
as it turns out.
It's funny how every Dentside you gotta smack.
You mean the?
There you go. See, you know yours. Mine you gotta smack on the top. You usually gotta punch in the front.
Yeah. And so there's not much. So the wiring harness is in here. The rednecks that put the motor and put it in. So it's like I didn't have a reason to yank it out. I've been trying to be do as little as I can for my daily driver. But I've had to remount everything over here. Is completely remounted. The crankcase situation wasn't going to work in the box here. I didn't like how. So it's got this added to it. So ultimately, what you're looking at is stock block. Which is a roller block, but wasn't when we opened it. And so now the motor's full roller on the valve train, and this is a 10.5 to 1 compression AFR head. And then I've got factory lower manifold, small porting job on the upper manifold, BBK throttle body, 24-pound injectors, factory new, but factory camshaft in it. The reason that was retained is because this is an OBD1 1993 F250 operating system, and I wasn't going to throw a new fuel injection system on it because this was in it and working. And once again, this is my daily driver, so why spend the money? Why get into it?
And you told me off camera, I thought was the funniest thing, is you built this for yourself. It's not for the internet. It's not to look cool. It's actually to be driven.
My personal feelings is there's far too many vehicles built to impress someone else. And I fell in love with this truck. I bought it to sell. I fell in love with it. And when I was a child, I had a little Bronco red with a tan top, had a little motorcycle on the back of it, and I adored it the most. It was my most favorite. I've always envisioned, I always thought about my life in terms of that little Bronco. And while this isn't a Bronco, many people think it is, when I drive around, it's like, if I put a motorcycle carrier and put a dirt bike on the back of it, I have achieved a childhood dream. And I absolutely adore this truck. And if people are curious how much you adore, I've driven it to California twice. It's like, it's going to Hammers in February. It's like, this is my daily driver. I got to go cross country.
How many miles?
So I've got right now, since it's been in this configuration, because I've got a speedo issue. I don't know the exact miles, but I'm over 10,000.
Oh, wow.
I'm over 10,000 this year, and that's easy over 10,000. So I'm maybe 11 or 12, but over 10. So, and so ultimately, this in the future. So after I get done with suspension, it gets coilovers and a long arm in the front, all blah blah blah. So the exhaust is built for a 3-link on the front, and so everything was built to keep going with it. But everything works so beautifully on it. I'm so happy to drive it. I don't know if I'll keep cutting on it.
You don't want to fix if it ain't broke.
Yeah. Oh, no. And the thing's awesome. I run 85, 90 miles an hour down the freeway, coast to coast. I mean, this is my daily. It's my passion. This is my pickup truck. So as far as making, hitting a metric that someone else approves of, it wasn't something I had in mind. And so I just, I love this truck, and, I enjoy it so much. When I bought the truck, it had an OBS bench seat in it, which I assume was out of the 93 that the motor and trans came out of. So I had a few PRPs sitting around, and the interior was somewhat black. And so I put them in here, and a lot of people cast shade. I've got a dog and a girlfriend, and so this works out well. So I've got you see the shifter for a ZF5, deep first gear, overdrive, handbrake, and then I've got a split 205 transfer case. The pedals are reworked so it can be heel-toed. It's pickup truck.
It's exactly that. It's form and more function. But honestly,
this thing runs to the welding supply store, the steel store. It's like if I got to go get everything that a small block V8 will pull, this thing pulls everything else. You got the Super Duty, but here's nose art from the animal. You know what I mean? And so she goes everywhere with me. And like I said, this truck run the fact. So it's run what's the original harness out of the 93. So I run the original front rear fuel selector on it. Runs dual pumps on it. Like I said, air lockers, so compressor and 1, 2. Run the winch over here, lights. I mean, like I said, this is a low tech truck.
But still, you got everything that you need. I mean,
yep.
It's literally everything that you could need. And at the end of the day, I bet you that, somebody could bring out their fancy Raptor R and you'd still be able to probably make it everywhere with this thing. And
maybe not as fast, but this will go further than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, this is a function truck. You know, it's like I wasn't trying to meet a metric. It's just my pickup. That's all.
I love it. Well, I feel like there's not much more to show them. Now we just kind of drive it and let them see how cool it is.
That's about it.
Alright guys, so now we're in it. Just gonna do a little bit of wheeling.
Oh, we're just driving down the path. The big thing is just not trying not to slide off into any trees.
It's so peaceful up here, dude.